thing about moving that I want to talk about is about AI and algorithms. So I know right now a lot of people are like nervous about machine learning, artificial intelligence, what that looks like. And you know what? Let me actually, I want to do a breakdown on the difference between between AI and machine learning because they're really close. I think that AI has some other humanistic traits though. I'm gonna put that. I'll tell y'all in a minute. I'm Chat GPT in it. So when it comes to being okay, so right now my algorithms think I'm traveling because I travel all the time. So they think like, oh, they don't realize my phone has not come to realize that I live here now because I just got here on Sunday. And so it hasn't had enough time to adapt to my behaviors being on this on this coast yet. Okay, what do I mean by that? So, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because I think I want to everybody to understand like, hey, machines have been learning us for a long time. Now we're moving into this world of AI, and I don't want you to be afraid of being in control of what systems learn you, or I don't want you to be afraid of adapting AI or using it to your advantage and figuring out what makes the most sense for you. The hard part about this whole new cyber world is that essentially we're having a there's this I'll tell you, let me explain this part. We are in a moment where we are like where the machines are extensions of us, and I know that sounds like some what was the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? um I can't remember. Anyway,
Total
the
Recall?
some say it again, what was it?
Total Recall?
No, what was the one with the machines?
Terminator?
Where
The Terminator.
Terminator. There you go. We are now like machines are an extension of us. There is a practice called cyborg, I think it's cyborg anthropology. Yeah, it's cyborg anthropology. There's a study out there. Cyborg anthropology is a field that examines the interactions between humans and technology, treating both as a part of a single interconnected system rather than as separate entities. Now, this has been around for like years. This is not new. And in fact, I first discovered cyborg anthropology when I was doing trainings back in 2000 and I want to say this was 2000 and this is way before. This is when I was teaching. So, for those who don't know, I used to be a K through 12 educator. So I was teaching computer science at TC Williams High School. So this had to be somewhere around 2009, 2000. I was there 2007, 2008 to like 2010, 2011. So that was when I started reading about it. In fact, during that time, so I'm an engineer, I'm a computer scientist, and I used to teach computer science and computer classes to high school students. So I used to teach video game programming. I would teach just Java programming, and then web development, and then some basic like computer classes, like one-on-one. So what I started doing, even before I moved to the DC area, actually, so let's go back to like 2005. What I started doing was teaching. I had this idea that I wanted to teach how to use computers in its most basic form to like senior citizens and like regular community. Um, and regular community. I don't. Anyway, just to the community in general, just get people to start like understanding like the basics of using technology, which is things like knowing that every time you open a browser or every time you use your phone or every time you use technology, these basic things are gonna be there, and those basic things are like file, edit, view, window, help. Like these five basic tabs are going to be a part of whatever you're doing, whatever browser you're looking at, whatever window you're looking at for whatever software application you're opening up. When it comes to being on your computer, for sure, and sometimes on your phone, the menu gets a little shortened. So you may have a help, but that help is going to be looking through articles that have been programmed into that particular software application. Is going to be you're always gonna have a version of the file. Like file may say different things, but it may be that's where you'll find like your settings, things like that. You're always gonna have a settings. Like so, I wanted people to not be threatened by the evolution of technology, understanding that if you understand these basic things, it's kind of like riding a bike. And you can kind of then begin to use any type of technology and it can become intuitive just based off of you knowing, hey, if I were to use a bike has pedals, pedals do this. Bike has gear does this. Has handles, has handlebars, handles and handlebars do this. Has brakes, does this. And I wanted to try to bring that as that basic understanding, so you have a foundation. Because what I realized is that at that time, and even now, and I can talk about this a little further, but at that time, circa 2005, there was not a lot of computer training that was like regularly done inside of school. So if you didn't grow up in school knowing these things, like even with me, like in elementary school, we had the big gigantic Apple desktops, which were like, anyway, and then along came Microsoft and MS DOS. And then it was this like very, very like analog looking kind of thing. Even though it was like supposed like this digital device, but looking really analog. So I think that like the evolution of technology, if you grew up there, then it makes sense that you would be a little lost on some of these things. So come 2004-ish, I am like at this rec center in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I am like, I want to offer these classes. So I came up with this whole curriculum and things like that because I know how to write curriculum for being a teacher, and started teaching the general community and some children actually around like these basic things. If you know these basic like 10 things, you can use any technology on the planet because you'll be able to figure it out. And the key for me is always to be able to serve the communities in a way where you can figure it out. Like, hey, I want to give you the blueprint. I can't give you the answer because that's not how tech works. Like the tech works. I can give you the blueprint, but without actually using the tech you're using or you really talking me through it, for me to be intuitive around what is happening with your tech, it's hard for me to tell you how to use specific things. But if you have like a basic understanding and knowledge, then you won't be afraid of technology and you won't be afraid of its evolution. And then you'll feel comfortable with anything you can adapt, similar to like getting on a bike for the first time, after you haven't rode it in 10 years, may feel a little bit like, oh, whoa, how do I balance this thing? But you never, it's like a muscle that you build. So you never are without understanding how it works. Well, talk about being so far behind that curve when it comes to technology, and now just like piling on new technology constantly. So it gets overwhelming because now technology is moving faster than humans can develop their understanding of it. And then there's like a whole industry around like, hey, tech is evolving, use it. Hey, now use this for another example. I've had to rent some U-Hauls. So I had to rent now U-Haul, right? Which is just again, when we think of industries and things in America that would be easy to use, go to a U-Haul, walk in, buy your supplies, or rent a truck or rent a facility. You go to the counter, they push a couple buttons, boop, 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 and now you have your storage facility. Well, U-Haul is now pushing you to use the U-Haul app for everything. You're like, I am a tech person. And I was in a U-Haul the other day and was frustrated because I'm like, y'all are standing right here in front of me. Why can't I just buy whatever I'm trying to buy from you? Like, why do I need to use this app? They're like, no, go into the app. You got to go into the U-Haul app to reserve a U-Haul. You got to go to the U-Haul app to reserve a rental space. And now, I mean, the storage unit. Now you can reserve a storage unit and not even buy it right away. Right away, you can just go in and reserve it, and then check in when you check in. That part is new. Now, so imagine that you don't walk around with this very foundational understanding, like to a point that it's like riding a bike for you in terms of like I said, basic functions of like your file, your edit, your view, your history, your help, tabs at the top of your browser screen or at the top of any type of application, and just knowing what's going to be under those, knowing that under your file screen, you're always going to have these certain things that are there every time. And two of those things that are always there is things like print. You know what I mean? Like under file is always going to be print. Now there's shortcuts you can do, Control P, Command P, that kind of thing. You can do, like, there's all type of keyboard shortcuts where you don't need the menu and you don't need a mouse. But for your basic functions, if you don't have that, then like by the time you get to them saying you got to use this U-Haul app, you looking at it like, what the heck? Like, why? What does this mean versus this? Another thing is that, like, so inside of the U-Haul app, they have this thing called meaningful assurance. Well, meaningful assurance is an emergency contact. But why didn't they just name it emergency contact? Like, why did they name it meaningful assurance? And so I'm looking at it like, what does meaningful assurance mean? And they're like, oh, just put in an extra contact. This is going to be your emergency contact. Like, stuff like that makes it also hard for people, because it's like, come on, U-Haul. If you want, like, I get you wanting to be tech savvy, but if you want to do that, you're also going to break down what you're doing to meet the needs of people of just all people. In fact, that's not even a meet the needs of all people thing. That's just a, who the heck is calling your emergency contact meaningful assurance? Maybe somebody is somewhere that I don't know, but that's just not a regular occurrence. So I'm saying that to say, tech is not always intuitive, and trying to adapt to it is not always easy. So when I'm breaking things, I want people to feel comfortable with these things. So anyway, I'm saying all that to say, to tell y'all that my algorithms have not yet understood that I am on the West Coast. So you may experience this too while you travel, or if you move to a new place. Everything has to switch over to start showing you content that is local, to start showing you search, even down to your social media. Right now, I'm still seeing all DC, Maryland, Virginia content. I'm still seeing content that's all on the East Coast. Well, the more I use my apps and swipe and let it share my location and all that, it's gonna start adapting to the fact that I'm on the West Coast. Earlier today, I was telling Daryl how in the mornings my Google Maps automatically knows that every Tuesday I'm going to SiriusXM at this time. Not because I told it that, like, not because I literally typed, hey, that, but because now it's storing my behavior as I go and adapting and learning. With the way that it used to have to work before technology evolved, is that you actually had to enter something literally in order for it to get stored in a certain way. And then after it gets stored in a certain way, it could always recall that information. So for example, when you buy a new computer or you buy a new phone, you enter all this information. So your computer doesn't automatically know that your name is John. You entered John at the beginning of you buying that computer. So now it thinks that you're John. So even if other people use it, they're like, oh, hey, John, thanks, John. Here you go, John. But that's because in the beginning it says enter your name. You enter your name, it takes that. And let's look at it like a pantry, right? So it takes that, stores it on the shelf of the pantry, and then every time you do a function that needs that thing, it recalls that shelf on the pantry and that item and brings it back. That's literally the understanding of how it would work. Now, what has happened is you don't necessarily have to enter that thing directly into a slot in order for it to understand who you are, what you're doing. It now is adapting to the behaviors that you do consistently. It will take probably about 30 to sometimes maybe 90 days for it to figure out that I am not on vacation, that I am not just traveling, that I actually have relocated and that I'm based here. The more that my shared location is showing that I am based here, it's going to start going, it's going to go, oh, this is her primary location. You also see that when you use apps like Netflix and Hulu and things like that, it will think that I'm visiting. And then eventually it's going to go, oh, wait. You've been here longer than 30. You've been logged into this longer than 30 days. Do you live here? You need to change your location in order to continue using this app. Hulu's going to do that for sure, because I buy Hulu Live. And to have Hulu Live, you have to actually be in a location. So those types of things, because, why do you have to do that? Because that's centered around like the cable networks, right? And I believe that's the sort of deal that they struck around like hyperlocal TV. Also, like hyperlocal TV is related to your location. So, I won't be looking at news that's from DC. I'll be actually looking at the local news in LA, right? And to do all that switching around, Hulu and the local satellites have to be connected. But saying all that to say that your computer has been learning you, all the tech around you has been learning you for years. Okay. It remembers what you gave it. And so I want to talk a little bit about the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning, because you're going to hear these two things sort of being used interchangeably, and there's subtle differences in between the two. And I think it's important for everybody to note, because again, my goal in sharing these things with you, so you're not intimidated by the use of tech, right? If anything, I want you to be able to take charge of the tech that's in front of you. I want you to be able to own it, use it, like feel like you're in more control of it. Some of it's not always going to feel that way. Yes, I get it. But for as much as I can educate you to understand how to put yourself in front of the tech, one of the hardest things about teaching computer science when I was teaching it was not necessarily the language of it per se. It was helping people understand themselves as the programmer, because we have adapted so much so to tech doing so many things for us, things you don't even realize that it's doing, or things that you realize it, but you're not as conscious of it doing it. And then if that tech was removed, we'd be sort of almost handicapped at this point, because that's how much we rely on it. But with that, what I'm saying is it's hard to understand yourself as a programmer, meaning like every action you take is what this is in response, what the tech is responding to. So for example, when people say to me like, oh, I don't be on Facebook because it's just too much drama. It's just too much. That's what you mean. You chose everybody you're friends with. How's it too much drama? Like, you are in control. Remember that you are in control. You're feeding it. Now, once you start feeding it, and there's benefits to feeding the beast, right? There's benefits to feeding the tech, because the tech is gonna start doing things on your behalf. Like now, when I get in the car and I cut my Apple Maps on, it says, boom, it just literally gives me the Sirius XM address, and I just hit it versus me having to enter it every time. Right now, that saves me time. That makes me feel supported. I know it's not a big thing, but I'm just sharing it as an example of how some of this tech we feel very supported by. And then there's sometimes where we're like, wait a minute, you want access to my camera? Well, guess what? If Facebook doesn't have access to your camera, you can't take pictures or video in the same way real time. You can take it on your phone and upload it. But so like, it's not, all this stuff is not necessarily it's not inherently at first dangerous. However, it can become weaponized, which we've seen, right? So it's hard as a user to tell when might someone weaponize the way the algorithm has adapted to me versus when I'm in full control over what is happening in my life with tech. And the lines are blurred. There's no easy answer to that. And I mean, for as much as possible, without feelings like you have to be a conspiracy theorist all the time, how do you become comfortable with the tech that is using you and that you're using is a question. And it's something that it's not an easy answer. And I don't know that people have the answer to yet. I got to go to a quick break. When I come back, though, I'll tell you the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning.